Hello you beautiful people, Aaron here, welcome back to another video. As you may know, Yelan's release is right around the corner, so I thought why not compare her to her maybe nephew. I have talked somewhat about this before, but it was only numbers wise, and I won't really be talking about that here. Maybe a mention of it like here or there, but I will be mostly talking about what they offer to a team instead. Oh, and like, comment, subscribe, yada yada yada. It's so weird how saying that stuff actually works. Anyways, on to the topic at hand. Let's start with what these two characters have in common. Yelan and Xingqiu are both Hydro characters, and they act as sub-DPS and partial supports. They both excel at single target Hydro application, and they have the exact same Hydro application as well. I mention this because Yelan's was nerfed to be the exact same as Xingqiu's. They're also both able to proc sacrificial passives very well, and they can generate a great amount of energy for themselves. For a C0 Yelan and a C6 Xingqiu, they have about equal damage, but that's about it for their commonalities. But what about their differences? They kind of have a lot. First, the things that are unique to Xingqiu is that he has damage mitigation, knockback resistance, and healing on his elemental skill. This brings about a lot of comfort for the team, especially your main carry. He's also very free to play friendly, as he is a 4-star and you could get a free version of him anyways. You could also pretty easily get his C6 through Paimon's store. Xingqiu is also able to apply Hydro in an AoE around the active character with his elemental skill, which is absurdly useful. He also gains Hydro resistance shred at C2, and he gets a shorter downtime on his elemental burst at C2 as well. It ends up making it so that his downtime for his elemental burst is also shorter than Yelan's, but not without his C2. At C6, he also ends up regenning a lot of energy to himself as well. Now for Yelan, what's unique about her? Well, first off, she could possibly have stealth, and no, I'm not glossing over that. What the hell? That's cool as fuck. She also has mobility, which is okay, I guess. I feel like Hoyoverse overvalues mobility. Anyways, she could also act as a minor grouper. And you might be like, what do you mean? Well, after her elemental skill ends, every enemy that she tagged with the ability is yoinked towards her. So it acts somewhat like a Kazuha elemental skill as well. This could be really amazing, especially for a character with smaller AoEs like a Klee and Hu Tao, or even for Yoimiya, who would really benefit from not having to move as much. Yelan also has a less energy cost burst than Xingqiu. She also has only HP scaling really, so she is less weapon reliant. That being said, you can run more supportive weapon options on her and still have an absurdly high DPS. Elegy of the End is one of, if not her best weapon, simply because of this. She was also able to take a lot of the HP artifacts that you would get, especially from an emblem domain, where not a lot of characters that scale with HP would actually want to use an entire 4-piece emblem set, whereas Yelan really wants that. She also grants a damage percent increase of about 40% to the main DPS character. And the reason why I say 40% is if you hit the tail end of it, the entire damage bonus ends up being about 40%, not the entire thing all the way around. You actually have to try to get that damage bonus. So let's talk about their main differences now. Yelan seems to be for reaching a peak damage output, whereas Xingqiu is for a comfier playstyle. Yelan also has less reliance on absurdly good stats for weapons and artifacts, which means once you get her, she's already halfway done, build-wise at least, whereas Xingqiu would require a lot more investment to get to that degree. He really needs a really good weapon and really good substats too, whereas Yelan can kind of coast with just HP percent and crit rate. Yelan is also able to take artifacts that are useless for most other characters, like I said before, as she is the only HP scaling character that wants to specifically use the entire 4-piece emblem set. These are the main differences between the two. But which one is better? Well, to be honest, I don't care. I don't care which one is better really. They both seem really good and it is very hard to tell, at least on paper. In game, it's going to be a bit different, and we'll able to see exactly how much better Yelan is going to be compared to Xingqiu. However, I also want to discuss the state of these two characters right now and compare them to the Sucrose and Kazuha situation that occurred before. I'm doing this simply because everyone else is doing the same. For a short recap, theory crafters were looking at Kazuha and saw his numbers, and because his numbers were not amazing, they said that he was just a worse Sucrose. Then Kazuha got mega buffed, which no one talks about. No one talks about the fact that Kazuha got mega buffed from beta to launch. Anyways, he got mega buffed, granting him a 33% increase from what his elemental conversion used to be, making him the generalist monstrosity that he is today. His elemental conversion used to be 0.03% and now it's 0.04, but it just kind of sounded better the way that I said it before. However, this increase did make a huge difference in the end. At 1000 elemental mastery, Kazuha used to provide only a 30% elemental damage bonus in the beta, whereas now it's a 40%, an entire 10% damage difference for all your party members, mind you, making it an entire 30% damage difference. It went from being 6.7% away from half a goblet to 6.6% away from being a full goblet. But here's the thing. Sucrose is still better in certain comps that rely on elemental reactions, like the famous Sukokomon comp and a Hu Tao comp, making her the specialist. She is also still about as great as Kazuha is in all other comps other than raw damage comps like mono elements and freeze comps. Now Yelan and Xingqiu are getting compared to what happened before, which I think is completely unreasonable. I have seen and heard a lot about simply saying that these two situations will be the same, but there's a huge difference. Not only did Yelan get nerfed by Hoyoverse, lowering her Hydro strength from beta to live, unlike Kazuha, who got a buff, but in this situation, Xingqiu is the generalist and Yelan is the specialist. Let's just think about Hu Tao. In theory, Yelan would be a better pair with Hu Tao because of the damage bonus increase, but Yelan lacks any of the defense that Xingqiu provides, meaning that she would have to be run with a shield, most likely in a walnut comp. But in a walnut comp, Albedo will be dealing damage too and taking away some of those potential vaporizes that Hu Tao needs, having her deal less damage overall. Xingqiu, on the other hand, can help override this because of his small AoE Hydro aura, so Hu Tao will always be getting those vapes that she needs to deal damage. This situation is somewhat fixed with Yelan C2 though, but then again, that's a C2 Yelan, and that's sort of an unfair comparison. Yelan's damage bonus will also reach diminishing returns with too many damage bonuses too, unlike any unique thing Xingqiu provides. But that just means that Sucrose is going to be even more viable with a Hu Tao now, at least when she is paired with a Yelan. My main point being that these two situations with Kazuha and Sucrose and Yelan and Xingqiu are different. They are not the same. Each of the characters play the different role. Xingqiu and Kazuha are the generalists, which make them just better, and Yelan and Sucrose are the specialists. Yelan also got nerfed, not an absurd amount, but it was a pretty heavy nerf that had her outshine Xingqiu in one specific aspect, but now Xingqiu outshines Yelan in that aspect. Whereas with Kazuha, he just allowed his entire team to just deal an extra 10% extra damage because of his buff. People don't talk about that. Don't know why. He wasn't great in the beta. He was just a worse Sucrose. That 10% really does matter. Anyways, saltiness aside, let's talk about where Yelan will thrive and specialize. This would be in places that Xingqiu does not work as well in, like where his healing, damage resistances, and close range hydro application are not needed. These situations would be like for a Yanfei, Yoimiya, and a Klee, all of which can attack from range. Yanfei has a shield at C4, lessening the need for healing and tankiness. Klee, despite her being one of the closer ranged mages in the game, still has some ranged and has a lot of different instances of pyro exploding around, making the extra hydro application Xingqiu provides basically wasted. And then there's Yoimiya, who needs a shield anyway and whose best support also happens to have almost the same exact elemental passive as Yelan does, but with a different stat. Ayaka Freeze is also another option to place her in if you have literally no other Hydro character other than the 4 stars. And she could also work in a Hyper Carry comp as a damage boosting support as well, but not better than some other characters like Bennett, Sara, and Kazuha. Okay, I think that's all I have for today. I think. As you could tell, I do have an opinion on Yelan. Is she going to be overpowered? I don't think so. I think that she will be generally worse. I think her main saving grace is going to be that grouping and the fact that she is sort of like a Kazuha. Ooh, wait, that's really good. I think she ends up being the only character other than Animo characters who can group, which gives her an entire brand new niche that is absurd. No one's talking. I don't know why people don't talk about certain things. Like, is Animo still amazing? But yes, but you don't need it anymore, really. Well, you still need it. It's freaking amazing. But you don't need it for the grouping. Meaning that, you know, Jin and Sayu and other Animo healers are just going to be better at this point now. By a mile? No. Oh, we still need more grouping. But it's going to help. Anyways, I hope you consider hitting that like button down below and that subscribe button as well. And if you have any thoughts, put them down in the comments below. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you agree? What are your thoughts? Tell me, I want to hear. But with that out of the way, I want to thank you all so much for watching today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.